Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Dolores Tarver. I'm a licensed psychologist here in Georgia, and it is time for the tea. Tea Time with Dr. Tarver is a wellness based podcast. It is not intended to be a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health provider. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this next week in November. We are like really plugging along with this third week. And I will tell you that, again, people are struggling. Right? People are still dealing with a lot of different heightened emotions yet. Post election, daylight savings time is still wearing on people a good bit this time of year. And then this is that grief season. So between October through probably January, beginning of February. Just ends up being a tough time for people because a lot of deaths occur during that time. Could be anniversaries, birthdays. That can also be a time where you're really reminded of the absence and loss of this person in your life. And then we are just dealing with a lot of concern and anxiety and I think confusion as we have any type of transition in power. There's always that concern about how we're going to be affected. And I know a lot of people are particularly concerned about their insurance benefits and changes with that. We know in the new year that could mean rate increases for different things. So people have a lot of heightened anxiety going in, not to mention the holiday anxiety that people get in general. And so, over the next couple of months, we're going to be talking about hope in humanity and these things that remind us to recognize that some things are temporary, some things we don't have control over, and the things that we do have control over. We get to decide how we're going to experience them, right? Where we're going to put that energy and what it's going to look like. So, that being said, I am very excited today to talk about the magic of music because what gives us hope? Music does. You may remember when you were growing up, your parents or your grandparents would put on some music for the cleaning day. It might have been a Saturday cleaning day. I don't know what day it was in your house. In our house, it was Saturday. My mom would put on the records, and that would help us get inspired to clean up. You may also have made somebody a mixtape or let them listen to a song. You might have written them a song or played them a song when you were learning how to play an instrument or sang them a song because you had a crush on them. Maybe you had that breakup playlist. You might have been on the other side of this journey where you were trying to navigate this broken heart. And so you found all the songs that reminded you why this person didn't deserve you and how you're going to be better off without them. You might have had that go-to playlist to get hyped before a game or a workout, or you had to do a presentation, and so you had your go-to music to get you crunk and excited. You may have that song that you listen to before you have to have a tough conversation. Like, okay, let me kind of orient myself. I need to advocate for myself and make sure I get this pay increase. Or before an interview, maybe you were making a pitch for some kind of business offer, or for you to have an opportunity, and so you had that hype up music that you listened to, or it might have been a calming down music that you were listening to remind you that you absolutely had this. Might have been a gospel song that did it for you. It may have been a songs that reminded you of when your children were born. It might have been nursery rhymes and songs that you sang for them. It might have been that Wheels on the Bus song for my child was the only thing that would calm them in the car. It might have been a song that gave you comfort when you were dealing with some really tough times of grieving in your life. So we're going to talk about how music heals, right? Music gives us hope. Music heals, like music makes us happy, like all the good stuff. So let's talk about why that is. Well, one is because music can say sometimes what we can't say. So when we are having difficulty being able to express ourselves, maybe being able to find the words to understand what we're feeling, or being able to say it in a way that might make sense to someone else. Sometimes we have difficulty being able to communicate with other people. It's like I know what I'm trying to say, but it's not coming across in the way that I want it to. And so music allows us to be able to express those things. Music is something that allows us to be able to deeply experience and feel things. Sometimes we have a hard time sitting with emotion. And so music allows us to be able to sit in places that might be uncomfortable for us. Sometimes we do need to sit in that grief and that pain, that heartache. And yes, there are times when we need to sit in the joy and the love, and we celebrate those moments too. And it allows us to be able to express them. But also, music, just as a tool of communication, has been throughout time. It was how people would communicate to each other different strategies and different plans. It would be how people would be able to communicate directions. It would be how people were able to communicate the hope, and that things are going to get better, things are going to be able to improve. It was also a way for us to soothe and to comfort. And so I think for a lot of people, music has continued to be a form of communication. When you write a song and you're writing these words, and these words are speaking about an experience, and in that experience, you're connecting with so many other people who have a shared experience with you. And that speaks to how music is just a uniter of the people. Music allows us to be able to go across generations, to go across ethnic backgrounds, to go across religious experiences. It allows us to be able to recognize the things that we have in common, the things that bring us together, the things that rally us, that excite us, that unite us. Music has that capacity to help us build trust when sometimes we're not necessarily trusting of each other. I know a lot of us are giving a little side eye right now. You're not certain who you can trust, who you can't trust, trying to weigh these conversation topics and options. We're getting ready to go into the holidays. But when you put on music, and especially something that we can do a little two-step to, then that allows us to be able to remember, oh yeah, this was the song that we played the last time we had a family reunion. This was our wedding song. This was the song they played when I graduated. This was the song that was played on the radio that let me know you were the one, right? So, this is what allows us to be able to understand. Sometimes we feel like we're so different from each other. And what a song will do is it will remind you, like, oh, yeah, there are certain universal experiences that we all have. We all grieve. We all have the capacity to experience love. We have the capacity to experience heartache. We have the capacity to be able to heal when we've been hurt and when we've been broken. We have the capacity to get up when we've been knocked down. We have the capacity to understand someone else's experience, even if it's our not, if even if it's not our own. And so sometimes in song, we're able to connect with people in ways that we cannot connect with them otherwise. It allows us to sometimes see each other and get beyond the superficial things that sometimes divide us. And it just reminds us of our humanity, right? That's that hope in the humanity that I want to highlight over the next couple of months. I want you also to know that music has all of these wonderful physical and mental properties, like its spiritual properties. Music actually can improve memory. And so what we have learned is that as you're studying, and now some of y'all listening to some stuff is a little crunk. You're getting caught up in the lyrics and in the bass line, and you forgetting that you were studying. So it cannot be that type of music that distracts you. But when we have music on in the background, sometimes it will allow us to be able to retrieve and access things because we connect them to songs. You may have learned mnemonic devices that were centered around songs in order for you to be able to remember when it comes time for you to come up with that concept, those bones, those geographical locations, those names of those presidents, what months actually have 30 days in them, right? So we all have those songs that allowed us to remember things that we still remember today. Music also allows you to be able to better problem solve, right? Because what we know is that music absolutely calms our heart rate down. Music can allow us to have better focus, right? It can decrease our stress, which means that I'm better able to problem solve because I'm not so overwhelmed, right? music because it has the capacity to be able to help us with processing speed and learning additional things. Sometimes learning languages makes it easier when we have some music there. Learning the words to a song because you connect them with that musical notes. But music also slows down cognitive decline. Now, it does not reverse. If there is dementia, it cannot give you back what has been lost, but it can slow down the progression of dementia because music memory is actually more resistant to types of dementia. So we have what we know is a strong memory connection for things that elicit powerful emotions. And so because of that, like those songs that you learned, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that from second grade. Some of you can still sing songs you even learned in kindergarten and you haven't sung them for years, but you'll hear them again. You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that song. That memory comes right back, and you can sometimes even remember where you were when you heard it, what you were wearing, when it dropped. Some of the classics just takes us right back there, right? That nostalgia. And so music can help us in so many ways be able to regulate our emotions. You know that when you're very upset and you're honking that horn in traffic in the morning, if you put on a particular type of music, it'll bring you right on down. And you're like, you know what? Let me let that go. Music actually can decrease stress before an event. I know a lot of us have anxiety prior to events, and sometimes we'll talk ourselves out of going. Then we'll regret that we didn't go. But if you listen to, and again, you want to focus your playlist because there are certain types of music that evoke different responses, right? So for you, you might need to listen to something that's calming and soothing. It might be something that's empowering or encouraging before you go into that stressful event. Bring that stress level down. But also after an event, sometimes when you're really just hyped up and like, oh my gosh, and you're overthinking everything. Did I say too much? Did I not say enough? Did they think I'm weird? And you listen to some music and it brings you right down, right? Because it's really a form of grounding because you're engaging your senses. You're engaging your sense of hearing. And so being able to bring yourself to that present moment is part of what allows us to be able to bring that level of stress down. We also know that music can be very helpful in terms of getting us to a place of relaxation prior to and even after medical procedures. And you will notice that people during surgery, they'll have on classical music. We do know that classical music and drums actually are some things that can really help with depression, with anxiety, and jazz too. And so, particularly as we're listening to things that don't have lyrics and you're just focusing on that rhythm and you can regulate your heart rate and calm down, right? So, it's like meditation. Which is why you'll hear certain types of sounds being played when people are engaging in meditation, because these are the things that elicit a calmness and an ability to soothe and to relax. I definitely think that whenever we feel like there is a space beyond the right now, so that speaks to the hope piece again. When I know that what I'm experiencing is temporary and that I'm able to kind of release and let go and not allow it to consume me and it can kind of wash over me like sound waves do, then I'm much more likely to be able to navigate it and manage it in that moment. We also know that movement combined with music can also help. Like when you're having those heart palpitations, when your heart rate is up, when your blood pressure is up, sometimes a gentle swaying, right, can allow you to relax. Because again, we don't realize how much like rhythm and syncope matters to us. Tone, certain frequencies really affect us, right? So the things that you remember when you were in school and somebody would run their fingers or something sharp down a chalkboard and make that noise, right? And it would just drive you berserk. Well, there are certain sounds that when you hear them, they immediately cause your blood pressure to fall. They immediately cause you to calm down. Some of that elevator music that you hear when you're on hold with your insurance company for like 5 hours while you're trying to understand why they denied a claim. Like that music, and like you'll zone out and you don't even realize it. They play it a lot of time in the dentist's office because what? We're usually anxious going in there to get those fillings and those crowns and those root canals. Um, and that kind of music allows us to just zone out. And then you're like, oh, wait. Because what we recognize about music is it can have multiple effects, right? So it can calm you down, lower that heart rate, but it also can give you more energy. Music actually can improve fatigue. And so, why we like that crunk playlist going to the gym is because it allows us to be able to have a little bit more endurance, to do things a little bit faster, to enhance our physical abilities, and we need less oxygen to do it. So, you're like in the groove, not even really thinking about the fact that you have done 25 reps at this point and your legs are burning, because when you have to do repetitive things, like we know that if I focus on the pain, I'm going to be like, oh, I can't do this. I'm tired. I can't do one more. But if I'm focused on the music, I lose count. Some of you have done that before. You're like, I don't even know what rep I'm on. And so you're like, okay, well, let me do a few more just to make sure. Or you'll have that burst of energy. So, you are jumping up on that big old block and jumping back down, and you're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. I didn't think I could jump that high, or I didn't feel like I could do those raises and lift myself above this bar, because I'm in the zone of this music, which is why you'll see a lot of people listening to music in the gym. And then you'll see some people not listening to music. And like you can tell the level of intensity, the people that are listening to music, oftentimes like they're going, focused, like completely in the zone. And then for the people that don't listen to music, sometimes you'll see them taking a bit more breaks, kind of little more lapses between reps, and like, oh, let me, walk around a little bit, then I'll go to the next machine. And so being able to understand like what music is going to help you improve your performance, and that can be across a variety of areas, can be really important, right? Because we know, again, different types of music elicit different responses, which is why we need to have a variety of genres of music in our collection. But music also can help you manage pain. Acute pain, so that quick onset pain that hits and is gone, and chronic pain that is more ongoing. And that we recognize that music in combination with your other pain management helps more than just one of them alone. And so as we think about the power of music, the magic of music, the hope of music, the excitement of music, the nostalgia of music, then it's really easy to understand how music can put us in a different position. So, as you are preparing next week for Thanksgiving, and I know that Thanksgiving can be tough for some people because some of you may not necessarily be in loving spaces, but you feel a sense of obligation to go for whatever reason, or spaces that give you anxiety, or spaces that you're worried about if there's going to be arguments, or debates and things you're just not interested in, so you're dreading them, or maybe you're just tired and rather sleep, but you got to show your face somewhere. And so for whatever reason, if you're a little bit concerned going into this Thanksgiving, create yourself a playlist that focuses on whatever you need in those moments. So if you need to take some space and be able to hear something different, something positive, something encouraging, something nurturing, something loving, then create your playlist. Take a moment, go outside, go to your car, go to the room where the coats are, and take you some time and listen to some things to unplug. Or if you just get overstimulated and you need to take a break, create that soothing playlist for you that is going to allow you to be able to calm down your heightened autonomic nervous system that's screaming like too many people, too much stuff, too many smells, all of the things, right? Also being able to listen to some music before you go to put you in a different place, because you might be holding on to some stuff and you're going to see somebody you haven't seen and you haven't addressed that thing from the last time you saw them, but you already woke up and chose violence. So you might want to listen to some music to be able to put yourself in a different space, a space of peace, and like, hey, I can address that later. I don't have to address that during Thanksgiving. Or if you're a person who maybe doesn't have plans for the holidays and you're feeling a little lonely and a little worried and nervous about, like, maybe you're in a place where you haven't created family yet, it's a good opportunity to put on a good playlist and go volunteer and go do something that's meaningful and purposeful and allow yourself to feel connected in that way. A Friendsgiving, right? For some of you that may not have family, but you have maybe coworkers or you have friends that you've met who are like, oh, hey, come over. I don't want you to spend Thanksgiving by yourself, but you're a little nervous to do it. Put on that playlist and encourage yourself to go on and go. Set yourself a timer. Like, I'll be there for about an hour. Eat and go on and back home, right? So allow the music to be able to be used in whatever way you need it. If this is a tough Thanksgiving for you, maybe this is the first one without your loved one and you are just really hurting, your heart is heavy, being able to listen to maybe some of their favorite songs, being able to listen to some things that remind you that this pain won't be this heavy always, right? So that hope. So maybe some of us need a little hope for this holiday season, and that playlist will be the way that you get there. And also, do not overlook the power of a good dance break or looking at a nostalgic dance video. So sometimes we need to do a little of those things too. If you got a lot of anxious energy or you just need to release some tension or some stress, do know that music goes really great with dance. So don't forget to add you a few good dance tunes in there as well as you look forward to celebrating whatever is coming up for you in this next week, whether that's Thanksgiving or just some time with friends or just some time off work, trying to relax and reset. Okay, so however you're spending this next week, do make sure that you vibe to some good music and also that you be well.